What's up, the Daily Effect Boxing? You know why I'm here. And I only ever do these when it's worth wow. And I'm here to break down or just have my thoughts on Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Wow. Before I go into everything, wow, that was a fight of the highest level from two people on top of their game, right at the top of their game. Two undefeated warriors fighting for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. The magnitude of this, even their auras, the way they are, they bleed. They live, breathe, and bleed fighting. Not boxing, just the art. The art of fighting, the art of war. You understand? And only real boxing fans and boxing purists would have sat back and watched in awe of these two gladiators. I like when I watch boxing, I watch it in vivid detail, and it was just the same. Now I know robbery's been shouted about, not from everyone. It's kind of like a 50-50 split, but robbery, I think you have to be very careful using that word. Use it on the right fights. This is not a fight to use it, to use that word. This ain't a fight to use that word, robbery. It wasn't a robbery. It was very close, and some of the rounds were so close that it was very hard to score and to decide who to give it to. So then it goes on, well, who's watching it? Because my opinion is going to be different to the next person. Just the same as the judges, you know. None of their scorecards matched up identically. And then the judge that gave it wide, I can also understand why he gave it wide as well. Because if it was such a close fight and it was so hard to separate them in a lot of those rounds, and then that judge is probably just going with who he thought nicked it, which is Beterbiev. And that could, you know, turn into a scorecard that makes it a little bit wider than what people thought. It doesn't mean it's a robbery. To say the word robbery is wrong. It was a very, very, very close fight. I personally, I've got some notes here because I don't want to miss anything. I personally had it level after 10 rounds completed. I ain't going to go into what rounds I give who and whatever within those 10 rounds. Bivol started better because, obviously he's got the speed. He's younger, he's fresher. It takes Beterbiev a bit longer to get warmed up. Do you know what I mean? So he had that on his side early rounds. But then you also have to watch what Beterbiev was doing, which was really smart. So I I had them level after 10 rounds. And then going into the 11th and 12th, I even turned to my family. I was like, whoever wins these next two, that's who's going to win the fight. And I gave the last 2 rounds to Beterbiev. He was doing the most damage. He was hurting Bivol, and he was getting stronger. You know what I mean? If this was an old school fight of 15 rounds, you never know. He might have got Bivol out of there. You understand? That's how strong Beterbiev came on later on towards the fight. It's funny. People were asking me before this fight, who do I think is going to win? And I honestly, for the first time in a long time, I didn't have a prediction. I didn't know who was going to win. My answer was just like, I just want to enjoy two great fighters, two great warriors. You know what I mean? Of the highest level. I just want to sit back and watch the art that goes into this fight. What's funny is everyone from the amateur boxing background, a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, they thought Bivol won the fight. It's funny that, isn't it? Because like English boxing in this country, they try to teach that kind of style, that in and out style, that Soviet style. They try to teach it. They can't obviously replicate how they do it in places like Russia and stuff like that. But, they do try to teach, have that philosophy as in and out boxing. So it's funny that all the amateur people think Bivol won. Do you understand? I'm going to go into that amateur pro boxing stuff later on, because there's something I was talking about yesterday and something that I don't like about this country when it comes to amateur boxing. But let me get back to the fight. I thought the fight was close, and I've got some notes here. You had two great styles. You had Bivol, that's more of a counter puncher. Tries to disrupt your rhythm. Has blistering hand speed when he puts combinations together. And then you've got Beterbiev, you know, more traditional, comes forward, but strong when he comes forward. It's like he's everything here is like armor. It's like even when you hit him, hardly anything's getting through. That's another thing. Bivol, yes, he was throwing those blistering combinations, but he weren't doing much with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's due to Beterbiev, this strong. He's just a unit. The way his presence, you know what I mean? So he's a come forward fighter, but an intelligent come forward fighter. An intelligent come forward fighter. As I said, it was close, very close rounds, hard to score. And they had high level defense as well. I don't know if anyone noticed, but it was the kind of fight like none of them can make a mistake. They can't even blink. That's how good these fighters are. If you saw the defense, the detail that went into the defense was phenomenal. Even holding. How many times in fights you see fights get messy, the styles clash, so there's a lot of holding going on. When did you see the ref have to keep stepping in every 2 seconds? That just shows you how great of a fighter these two are. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to rate things like this, like the concentration levels that went into this fight, because especially as it got later on into the fight, I thought Beterbiev, because of that style he has, you got to understand this, right? When you got someone in front of you that like can punch like a truck, and he keeps bringing pressure, but not just any pressure, smart pressure. He keeps flicking out jabs, constant jabs. That's what people don't understand with these, why I come to the conclusion of Beterbiev winning, is that you got to look at it as a whole. Bivol had little spurts where he looked phenomenal. Like the combination, the speed punching was out of this world. But he wasn't consistent with it. And the reason why he wasn't consistent with it, all right, go back to Canelo. I'm going to point out something, right? If you go to that Canelo versus Bivol fight, the reason why Bivol could keep it up for 12 rounds, throwing combination after combination, God knows how many punches he threw in that fight, is because Canelo is not a high volume puncher. He's a guy that waits for the perfect time to let his shots go. So a style like Bivol is all wrong for someone like Canelo. But in this fight, yes, Beterbiev is an aggressive fighter. Yes, he looks strong. He looks intimidating. But he's got underrated footwork. He's got very intelligent footwork. He throws a lot of punches, and they're not punches that he's loading up on. Because he's naturally strong, these fighters are feeling these shots that when we're looking at it, it doesn't look like anything, But he's throwing shot after shot after shot. Like, to have Bivol's style, to have those flashes of combinations. Okay, you have the flashes of combination, but then that person, it hasn't done anything to the person though. So that person's just, is that all you got? Keeps coming, keeps coming, keeps coming. When you have someone in there that's a big puncher, that is fundamentally world class, that knows how to walk you down, how to do the simple things like use a jab, knowing how to reset himself if those blistering combinations did come his way, knowing how to cover up, or if a couple got through, knowing how to reset. You know what? Let me just reset. Let me just walk off to the right, walk off to the left, resets everything, and let me go again. When you got someone doing that round after round after round, yeah, for the beginning, you're going to look great. But when it goes into that second half, if you can't stop someone in their tracks like that, and then it's going to be a long night. And that's what you saw. You saw mental fatigue coming. There's nothing wrong with Bivol's fitness, right? But it was more the mental fatigue, because he's in there thinking, if I get caught, it could be night. So he's got that on his mind. He's got the constant pressure in his face. He's got the fact that when he does throw shots at Beterbiev is just looking at it like, what's that? And he keeps coming again. That is mentally draining for a fighter. You understand? And as the fight got further and further along, Beterbiev's punch output started to get higher. He started to close the distance more easy, because mentally, Bivol was draining. He was drained. That's why eventually Beterbiev was virtually bullying Bivol on the ropes. When you got someone that is just so smart, you don't understand. It's so smart. When you got someone and they're on the ropes, you know, a lot of fighters, that's the difference between high-level fighters and just good fighters. High-level fighters, they know where to put all the shots. They're not just throwing for no reason. You know what I mean? When he had Bivol on the ropes, the way he flows with the shots, letting the shots go. I haven't seen something like that in a long time, you know, where someone can flow but still put the punches where they want them. Do you know how high level you have to be to do that? Constant pressure. When Bivol tried to move off the ropes, he'd be back on him again. And back on him again. And back on him again. I'm talking about the second half of the fight. And as I said, if there was 15 rounds, I reckon Bivol could have got stopped. So another thing I want to talk about is about judging. Judges don't just score for simply just throwing shots and that's it. There's so many things. A judge will sit there and be like, yeah, I give him that round because he done X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And one of them is ring generalship. And Beterbiev had the better ring generalship. He was controlling the fight. That's what you got to understand, yeah. How many elite fighters do you see that give away rounds in the first half, and then where it matters in the championship rounds, they come back and start beating the other person, left, right, and center? It's called championship rounds for a reason, you know. Mayweather was great at doing it, you know. Gervonta Davis does it. He done it against Frank Martin. Frank Martin looked nice and slick on his back foot, throwing punches, you know, trying to pick Gervonta Davis off. Gervonta Davis is like, catch him on the gloves. Yeah. But yeah. You're going to fade eventually. That's what they do. They allow you to throw your heavy shots. So when I saw Bivol throwing shots, some of them were outstanding. Some of them were phenomenal. The way he was putting shots together. But at the same time, I just kept looking and reading Beterbiev, and I was thinking, Beterbiev is forcing him to throw, not in the early rounds, but as it crept on, he was forcing Bivol to throw shots when he didn't actually want to throw any shots. Do you understand that? Do you understand that in boxing? That's called ring generalship. When you can force someone to do what you want them to do. You know what I mean? Bivol was getting maneuvered around the ring, moving probably more than he wanted to move because of the smart pressure from Beterbiev. And the jab as well. When you got someone doing this, not a fast one, not a sharp jab, just someone just peppering, and they coming forward, right hand, pat, 1-2, pat, jab, reset with the jab, tap, so they can't come close the distance. So then you're back on him again with that second phase. That's what Beterbiev was doing great as well. That he would just avoid Bivol just enough and then start peppering him again with the jab. Pat. That's scoring. You know what I mean? So when you look at it as a whole, Beterbiev doing that round after round after round after round, you're scoring all that. You're scoring those continuous jabs that people that don't know boxing will look at and go, those jabs are not doing nothing. Yes, they are. Remember when I was talking about the mental fatigue? Yeah? Yeah, when you got someone doing that, round after round, it's going to mentally fatigue you that. You know what I mean? So these are what judges look at. They don't just look at the obvious. You know, Bivol was, yes, he had blistering speed, good counter punching and combinations, but it just wasn't consistent enough. Now, if he adopted what he done against Canelo, against Beterbiev, then he would have won the fight. But as I said, Canelo's not a volume puncher. He waits for the right moments, so he could get away with it fighting like that. But Beterbiev, he's not going to allow you to get off those shots, and then he's not going to respond. As a matter of fact, there was a number of occasions where Bivol did let off combinations, but then Beterbiev would come back straight away, and when he let his hands go, it was more effective than those blistering speed combinations that Bivol was doing, you know? So yeah, it looked amazing to watch, like, wow. But that consistency that Beterbiev was doing, you know, you could tell it made a difference. You could tell that Bivol didn't like it. You could tell that Bivol in the later rounds was getting hurt by Beterbiev. So this is why I gave him the fight. And also, if you want to go on stats, then get up the stats, because then it's in favor of Beterbiev. So if you want to go on stats, which as a judge, you don't go on the stats because you're not there counting punches when you're watching fights. You just go on the overall. But they have the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. You know, probably from a live point of view, people will think, Bivol outlanded Beterbiev, but he didn't. And Beterbiev, if you look at the stats, the amount of punches he threw compared to Bivol was phenomenal. At the end of the day, that's my reasonings of why I think Beterbiev won. And boxing won yesterday. It wasn't a robbery. Boxing won. And the best thing that happened in this fight was afterwards, when it's pretty rare to see fighters pay the utmost respect to one another, and most importantly, not make excuses for losing. Bivol said that he lost and that's it, and he needs to do better, and he'd do better in a rematch. Same with Beterbiev. He said it weren't his best. He thought he won, but it weren't his best, and he wants to produce better next time. And they both congratulated one another. There was no excuses. Oh, I got robbed. No, I thought I won. All this. Now, that's what I love about this fight. The respect that they showed each other. And you know why that is? It's because of where they're from. You know, they're warriors. You know, they have that warrior gladiator mindset that when two people put it all on the line, you show respect afterwards, no matter what the outcome. I'm Daily Perales. This is the Daily Effect Boxing. Thank you for listening. And that was my take on Arthur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Peace.